Hi there and welcome to this new channel all about tattooing. In the up and coming episodes I'm going to explain step by step everything you're going to need to know about the tattoo industry, about tattooing and everything you're going to need to know about setting up a tattoo studio. Now within the up and coming episodes I'm going to be talking about tattoo needles, tattoo inks and tattoo machines. And with everything, knowledge is power. And within these episodes I'm going to empower you with the knowledge to get you to where you're going to go as quickly as possible. And with that said, let's start off this first episode with the most asked question about tattooing. So, the most frequently asked question is this: how do I get into tattooing? And to be quite honest with you, that's a relatively simple question to answer. And before you get into using a custom tattoo machine similar to this, and needles like these, the real starting location is this: a simple pencil. Now, most people who want to get into tattooing, they want to get themselves a tattoo machine, they want to get some tattoo needles and inks, they want to dip right in there and they want to get straight into the skin. But fundamentally, this is the starting location for you to hone your skills and become a great tattoo artist and get into the tattoo industry. For with a simple pencil like this, you can recreate standardised tattoo art like this, or move on to doing something a little bit more realistic like this. Once you've honed those skills with a pencil, and as you can say with a pencil, time and time again, you can repetitively do the same thing, repetitively draw the same tattoo, repetitively try and do portrait art. You can start to accomplish things like this. Moving on to more portrait stuff like this. Getting into more realistic portraits like this. So the simple answer to the question of where do I start is here, with a pencil. And I think next we should get on to mediums to recreate different styles of tattoo art. So I think that's what we'll move on to next. Tattoo mediums and tattoo art supplies. So we're going to kick off the art medium section of this series with a little trick that I use that I call the 3 pencil trick. Now, it's a widely used technique and it's really good for doing old school type, traditional type tattoo drawings. And this is what I generally start off with. I start off with a light coloured pen, move on to a medium tone coloured pen, and then finish off with a dark pen. This technique can also be used if you're doing customised type tattoo work on the client. You can use 3 Sharpies, you can use like a yellow Sharpie, then move on to an orange Sharpie, and then finish off with a black pen. I'm going to be moving the camera over my shoulder, so it's going to be looking down so you can actually see what I'm doing. It's going to be quite awkward for me because the camera is going to be over my shoulder and I'm actually going to have to stand up to get the distance away so that you can actually see the drawing that's been created. It's not really an art video as such, it's just showing you this little technique with the 3 pencils and how you can build up a portfolio of your old school type tattoo work. And using that then with things like a light box and tracing paper, you can then actually build up your portfolio and expand on the artwork that you create. So without saying anything more, I will throw the camera over to the shoulder and I will get down doing this 3 pencil trick for you, and then we'll move on to something else. So what I'm going to do with the 3 pencil trick is I'm going to start off and do a simple old school type flower, something similar to a cherry blossom. And as you can see now with the green pencil, what I'm doing is I'm just sketching out the basic symmetry of the actual flower itself. I've got myself a circle down with the light coloured pencil, and now I'm drawing around the edges to give myself a 5-sided shape. And this is just going to give me something to work for to get the actual edges of the old school flower to be symmetrical. Just a rough sketch. Just drawing in the centre of where the flower is going to be. And I'm now coming off again with the light coloured pen, arcing out to the corners of the actual five-sided shape where the lines cross over, just keeping that symmetry tight. I'm now drawing in the petals with the light coloured pencil, just a rough draft of where the petals are going to go. It doesn't really matter if they kind of out of flutter slightly, because that's what's going to happen when we come in with the orange pen. We're going to then tighten them lines up, add a little bit of detail, some little kinks inside the petals. I'm switching over now to the orange or umber type pencil, re-sketching around that circular centre of the flower, tightening that circle up. And now I'm going to come in and I'm going to follow those petal shapes that I've drawn with the green pen, but tightening up a little bit, putting a few little extra kinks in there, giving it a little bit of character. And then I'll also be able to see once I've come out from this orange pen whether I need to tighten up those petals even further, and I just make two of the petals slightly bigger so that it can emphasise this, and hopefully the camera will be able to pick it up properly. So there's two petals there that are slightly larger than they should be. I've gone back in with the green now to sketch in a few leaves, and it doesn't matter here if they're not in the right proportion. You can then change that down with the orange or the black pen later on. It just gives you a general idea of how it's going to look before you lay down the darkest colour. So I'm now going to switch over to the black, and then we're going to tighten everything up a bit, add a few little extra quirks and lines into the actual petals themselves. We're also going to correct the petals so that everything looks more symmetrical, and you'll be able to see the three different layers of lines where the flowers got tighter and tighter every time. It's a great little method to start off sketching out that symmetry, and you can do this for anything, for whether you're doing skull, flowers, birds, any kind of old school type work. Old school and new school really. I'm just coming in now, quickly drawing those leaves in at the end. And as you can see now, the petals have got tightened up more, they're more symmetrical. I've gone out of the lines and into the lines where I've needed to pull it into a tighter shape. And just finishing off now by curving out a few lines on the inside of the petal. And that's the completion of a simple old school type cherry blossom with nice symmetry using the 3 pencil trick. So let's take a quick recap on what we spoke about today. We said it's far better to use a pencil to refine your skills as a tattoo artist and repeat over and over again the drawings that you want to do, rather than trying to get in there and do it first time on a client. We've also spoken about mediums and the 3 pencil rule. You know, building up using the light coloured pen to sketch out your drawing, come in with a medium coloured pen, tighten those up, and then finish off with a black pen to tighten those lines. In the up and coming videos, I'm going to be talking about the relationship between other mediums, pens, ink, paints, watercolours, and what that represents when you're coming down to tattoo needles, and how to get the same kind of effects with the pens and the pencils and the paintbrushes as you would do in skin. I'm also going to go in depth into Photoshop. It's a fantastic tool for the tattoo artist to build up an advanced portfolio of artwork for doing portrait style work, But for now, I'm going to be concentrating on the traditional style tattooing, the old ways, and not just jumping in with Photoshop, because there's a lot to be learned about tattooing through these older mediums. Things that Photoshop won't give you when it comes down to manually putting that ink in skin with a needle. Using pens, pencils and paintbrushes are going to give you the fundamental basics when it comes down to being able to tattoo. Once you can put that down on paper with a pen and a pencil, pro marker, you'll be able to move on to putting that into skin, and you'll understand the relationship between the art mediums, these needles and the inks that you'll be using to get those tattoos down. So it's far better, as we were saying, refine your art with the pencils, pens and paintbrushes beforehand, then move on to the needles. I hope you enjoyed the opening video in this series, and if you want to learn and see more, please like, subscribe and press that bell.